It's kind of exciting.
I'm putting it together a little bit.
Okay.
You say that insight is not a response of the past. How can you know that your experience of clear seeing is not understood within a framework informed by prior exposure to material that discusses that very phenomena? If you have encountered, read about, listened to someone discussing the phenomena of insight, how do you know that your very insight, so-called, is not informed by this knowledge? All of which to say is, how is one so certain that insight is not a product of the past? Could I put it differently?
Yes, please.
How do you know that there's insight at all? You say that insight is not a response of memory, not a response of knowledge. In encountering such insight, so-called, how is one to be sure that one is not engaging in a certain form of self-deception? I may think I'm having an insight, but how to know one is actually having an insight, or even is there such a thing as insight in the way described at all?
How is it that I'm asking this question?
I've read about insight. I've listened to the speaker discussing insight. In this, I've been told that insight is not a product of the past. Insight is not a movement of the past.
I see. So I'm collecting knowledge about insight. Okay.
And I think I might have had such an insight. The speaker apparently thinks they have had such an insight. How do you know? Is there any such thing as insight? If there is, how is one to be certain about it?
So in the very question, there's a dynamism which is present. The questioner is recognizing that certain pieces of knowledge has been collected about insight, and is questioning if these pieces of knowledge are insight.
Or being confused for insight, or informing what one thinks insight to be.
Mm-hmm. And so, if I may, they're engaging in unknowing the present knowledge about insight. So that insight is not a memory or an experience had in the past.
I've accumulated certain knowledge, certain opinions, theories about insight. And if insight is a product of this, I see the insignificance of insight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm putting aside what I've learned about so-called insight.
Mm-hmm.
So then the question becomes, is there insight at all? What is the relevant distinction between insight and knowledge?
So when one puts aside what they've been told about what insight is, what is there? Is there anything there at all?
I want to learn about insight. And in learning about insight, I must put aside what I've collected about insight. And so in that, there's observation. In that observation, what do I find?
I must also put aside my want to learn about what insight is. Otherwise, I'll look for things that I recognize to be insight and say, this is what I've wanted. This is what I've been looking for. And then I'll immediately question it.
So my observation is without motive, without purpose. Although I might want to find out what insight is, I must put aside that wanting in the course of my inquiry to go fully into that question. Observing thusly, is there insight? What is that?
Asking me.
So insight takes place when I observe something, putting aside my knowledge of it. But what is the meaning of that insight? What is the significance of it? What takes place in insight that does not take place in knowledge?
Perhaps there's reaction to knowledge. I act based on knowledge. And if insight is taken to be a form of knowledge, you might think that I'm acting based on an insight I've had in the past, which is in fact just knowledge. But in fact, in attention, there's the energy, which acts, which is not based in reaction. Or so some guy says.
Reaction implies an interval between reaction and what is reacted to.
Mm-hmm.
So, reacting to knowledge, there is an interval between perception and action.
Mm-hmm. The actor and the action.
Yes. In insight, there is no interval between insight and action.
So that the insight is the action.
The very insight itself acts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So insight is not examining something, observing something, going into something, from that observation, making a conclusion,
Right.
and acting based on that conclusion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And saying it has changed my life this way and that way, this way.
But rather the very insight itself acts. And so with the action of insight, insight is not limited to what is false.
Insight is not limited to what is false.
To have an insight into what is false is not only to see what is false, but in seeing what is false, to see what is true.
I see, I see. My immediate answer was no. like it's not limited to what is false, but I wanted to consider how one might say yes.
If one takes up the whole question of illusion, not merely in a particular instance, but illusion,
Yes.
insight into illusion is not limited to illusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If there is an observation of illusion, from that observation conclusion, this is an illusion, this is how this illusion is formed, this is the structure of that illusion, and so from there, acting to try and prevent that illusion.
I see. You just have more illusion.
That's not insight.
Right. You're in a diluted space.
Mhm.
And from this diluted space, you made a conclusion that this is a diluted space. But in fact, from a third person's perspective, if you will, you might not have moved out of this illusion at all. Yes.
So in ending illusion, the very action that is ending illusion is not limited to illusion.
Mm-hmm. I see.
And
How
so-
do I know I have not simply deceived myself?
Mhm.
Yes. Into thinking that this is insight.
Mhm.
I see.
And so insight, not being limited to the false, not being separated by an interval of time from action, insight is not a response of the past.
Mm-hmm. It's not a recognition. It just isn't.
Mhm.
Or so some guy says. Find out.
Mhm.
I love this question.
Mhm.
It's very good.
Although from insight one may gain self-knowledge, the accumulation of self-knowledge is not insight.
Right. It's not limited to self-knowledge.
If I take that self-knowledge as a source of authority from which gathering conclusions, theories,
No more insight.
that very authority denies insight.
I see the ending of insight.
Very good question.
Lovely.